Greetings, my saplings. Alright, so in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Jordan 3 Tinker Hatfield Justin Timberlake, or I guess you could call it the Jordan 3 JTH, I guess, to simplify it. More importantly, to be specific in today's video, for the shoe, we'll be discussing some release info, how to cop the shoe, and of course, like always, guys, for those of you who are interested, some resale predictions. Alright, so let's kick it off with some release info and some background information for this shoe. So if you guys can recall, the Jordan 3 JTH first released during the Super Bowl. Now the first JTH 3 that released was actually all in white. It looked very similar to the white cement 3s, however there were a few aesthetic changes. For instance, the silhouette of the shoe actually revolved around Tinker Hatfield's initial design. If you guys have seen the Tinker Hatfield 3s, you guys know that the swoosh is there, it's very evident. Not only that, but there's also a Nike sign on the inside of the shoe. Well, it's the same thing with the Justin Timberlake Tinker Hatfield 3s. The main difference with these compared to the Tinker Hatfield 3s though is that instead of a black swoosh, it's actually a 3M swoosh. So basically what happened with this release during the Super Bowl, Justin Timberlake came out, he performed in these shoes, and then right afterwards they did a surprise drop for these, also known as a shock drop. The shoes sold out like extremely fast. But now, since Man in the Woods actually has been hitting some really good numbers, I believe for a moment or two, it was actually at #1. So in celebration, they are releasing another shoe, and this specific shoe revolves around the cover art of that album. Now this colorway is called the Beige. More importantly though, this is supposed to match, like I said, the cover art of his album, so it's got kind of that earthy feel to it. Not only this, but it's also got some dark orange accents, sort of like a red orange, if you guys could imagine that sort of color. It's right on his cover album. Also, we got some really cool details on this shoe that you just have to appreciate that they put the work in for. For instance, on the insoles of the shoe, we got some really cool things. For instance, on the left insole, it reads, "Stresses cool." I meant to say cruel, not cool. I don't know what I was thinking. I even wrote down cruel. Basically, I'm an idiot. And on the right insole, it actually reads, "Fame is a lie." I think it's great that they decided to involve all these details into the shoe. They put so much effort into it. That's something that I really do appreciate in a shoe. Because of course, they could have just smacked together a new colorway that matched the cover album. They could have just made it very simple and, you know, that would have been the end of the story. But, you know, they decided to take the extra step, and that's something I like. Anyway, it does come with a unique box to it. Again, that box has that earthy tone, that earthy feel to it. In addition to the unique box, it also comes with 3 different laces, all of which have earthy tones. 2 are flat, and then 1 is actually sort of a rope lace. You can mess around with these laces all you want if you cop the shoe. It's of course going to be something you could experiment with, but most importantly, this shoe will be releasing on August 28th for $200. So with all the release info out of the way, all the background info out of the way for this shoe, hopefully you're caught up. But now, let's jump to the how to cop portion of the video, because obviously, guys, that's what most of you guys care about, right? You want to get this shoe, whether it's for resale purposes or just for personal wear. Anyway, to kick it off, let's start off with SNS, Sneakers and Stuff. The first thing I wanted to mention for Sneakers and Stuff is that Sneakers and Stuff now has a raffle that you could go ahead and join. All the links for the raffles that I'm going to be mentioning today, and also future raffles that come out, all the links will be on my Twitter. My Twitter is KeithAdam10. But anyways, SNS has a raffle. Feel free to join it on there. Most importantly for SNS though, I do believe they will actually be doing a first come first serve in addition to their raffle. The reason I say this is because they have a countdown on their product page before you click on the raffle. Now, according to the countdown, this will be releasing on August 28th at 3 a.m. Eastern time. So if they do happen to do this first come first serve, because occasionally they do take away the countdown and they only do the raffle, but on other occasions they do first come first serves on SNS. My biggest tip for here would just be to set up autofill, guys. If you haven't yet set up autofill, it is extremely easy. You don't need any add-ons at all, if you guys were wondering. I know a lot of you guys were asking questions about this. All you got to do is make sure you're using Google Chrome. Then you go to the top right corner, you will see 3 dots. Maybe it's 3 lines, whatever it is. You click on that, then you click settings. Once you click settings, you scroll to the very bottom. You see an option that says advanced. Once you click on advanced, then you scroll just a little more and you will see a section that says autofill. Fill in all your personal info there. Also fill in your payment info that you will be using, for instance, like a credit card or debit card, whatever it is. And then when you're checking out on SNS or any other first come first serve site, all you're gonna have to do is most likely select the state, because it usually doesn't do that, and also the security card for your credit card. But other than that, it's going to save you a ton of time. I highly suggest setting it up if you haven't already. Now, moving on to the next store, we actually have End Clothing doing a raffle. End Clothing, of course, is a raffle that you can make multiple entries for, just like SNS. If you guys were wondering how to make multiple entries, if I make a tips for copying video for these, I'm definitely going to be explaining it again in there because I haven't in a while. But if you really want to know right now how to make multiple entries, a lot of my older tips for copying videos, just search up tips for copying the off-white, white Presto, something like that. I am pretty sure that I explained it in any of those, so feel free to check that out if you are interested in making multiple entries, but I don't really want this video to go on too long. Now, moving on to the next release, actually, this is going to be an in-store release, so any of my guys watching right now, if you are in Japan, feel free to take a trip to Tokyo on 28th, because Atmos Tokyo will actually be doing a first come first serve in store. Now, of course, you're going to have to get up extremely early, maybe even pull an all-nighter, considering these are extremely limited. But yeah, if you're willing to grind, of course, that's a way to go to get these for retail if you happen to be within that location. But I know the majority of you guys watching aren't within the vicinity of Tokyo. For that, I will have to mention some other stores. For instance, Soulbox will also be doing an in-store release, and I'll put all the locations for their stores on the screen right now, so you can check that out if you're interested. Moving on. Nike sneakers. Nike sneakers is going to be having a release, first of all, in Europe. So shout out to all you guys in Europe. You guys do have a scheduled release on the 28th. Now, I'm not sure as of now for Europe if it's going to be a draw or a first come first serve. Of course, if it's a first come first serve, it's referred to as a Leo, where it's actually a randomized process, just like a smaller version of a draw. They just don't specify that it's a mini draw. But most importantly, either way it goes, the main thing I want you guys to do is be prepared and set up as many accounts as possible. So when you're setting up all these different accounts, you're going to want a different email address, you're going to want a different phone number, you're going to want different payment methods for every single account. I have understood that a lot of you guys do get away with using the same payment method once or twice, but more often than not, a lot of people's payment does get declined when they use it more than once. For this, I definitely would recommend using different ones if possible. If you don't have any other payment methods than, say, one PayPal or one credit card, feel free to check out privacy.com. Also, regarding the name and address, you can actually keep that all the same. You don't have to tamper with it at all. It's completely fine. Just leave it the way it is. I have been through this before through trial and error, guys. I am confident that you can keep multiple accounts with the same personal info like that. One thing I definitely need to mention to you guys, if it does happen to be a draw, what I want you guys to do, say it's 30 minutes and you have 5 accounts, I want you to make one entry every 6 minutes. I want you to spread them out as much as possible. The reason I say this is because you don't want to be sending too many requests within a small period of time on the same IP address. Of course, if you still think this is risky using the same IP address for, say, 5 or 6 accounts, instead you can use multiple different devices on long-term evolution, aka using data. This will allow you to have different gateways, so you won't have the same IP address on every single device or account. And of course, this will be the safest way possible, but not everyone has this many cellular devices. Not everyone has this many computers with VPNs, if you guys know what I'm saying. So again, what I would recommend is spreading out your entries. Now, for Nike Sneakers US, of course, guys, I do think that there will be a release for Nike Sneakers US, but there is no scheduled drop as of now for this. I'm going to say, if it doesn't pop up anytime soon for a scheduled drop like the product page, I am expecting a shock drop very similar to how they did it during the Super Bowl for the first pair of these. I think they definitely might drop this during the tennis opening. That's a very high possibility. If not, maybe before that, maybe after that, guys. Shock drops, they can happen anytime. If you guys remember for the black Prestos, that shock drop happened, what was it, 3 or 4 days after the scheduled release. So guys, just, you have to be prepared for this, and you're wondering, Keith, how do I be prepared? Like, how do I know when a shock drop is coming? I mean, the whole point is that it's a shock drop, right? Well, there's a few loopholes here. All you guys have to do is either download the J23 app, and I understand it is $2, I believe. If you don't want to spend the money, that's completely fine. Turn on Twitter notifications for Solings. Solings tweets out whenever something like this happens. They have all the monitors going on the sneakers website in case something like this occurs. They will tweet out to you guys. The only issue is that you do have to unfortunately deal with all their advertisements. Anyway, for shock drops, they do appear as first come first serves, but they are are Leos, where essentially, like I mentioned before, it is a randomized process, just within a smaller time frame. So again, use as many accounts as possible, regardless, whether it's a draw or a Leo. Alright, so with the head of cop out of the way, let's jump into some resale predictions, because I know a lot of you guys are actually interested in that. So, if you cop for $200, say from Nike sneakers, or if you just happen to buy from another store that does happen to be charging around $200, maybe $210 or $220, I am confident that you will be able to make profit regardless of fees or shipping. But I am aware that some sites, such as I believe End Clothing or SNS, I think they are charging somewhere around $260. For this, I'm going to say that, yeah, you probably still can make profit. It's just not going to be a notable amount, especially after fees or shipping. It's just not going to be that much. So right now, they're actually not looking too bad. They're actually looking pretty good. But of course, as more pairs go into circulation, you will see the prices starting to drop. And in fact, the first pairs that released were more limited than these are going to be. Not only that, but there of course is more demand on that pair in comparison to this. And they're only selling for around the 450 range to 500, which don't get me wrong, that is a lot, but you can expect these to definitely be under that, perhaps around the 300 range. Again, guys, I'm just trying to stay conservative. All my predictions are always conservative. I'd rather you guys make more money than you'd expect rather than you make less money, if you guys know what I mean. So yeah, this is a conservative hypothesis, but of course, I do still think that it is going to be profitable if you get these for retail. With that though, I'm going to conclude today's video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, if you perhaps learned a thing or two. Also subscribe and turn on post notifications to stay updated on this shoe and any other shoe that is releasing in the future. With that though, I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Bing bang, ding ding ding, ding 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 ding.